All right, so today we are going to review chapters 4.2 and 4.3, so adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing polynomials. We do have a quiz coming up this week, so we are going to do a study guide as your assignment today. And I'm going to go over some of those problems from the study guide in this video, so make sure that you're following along with the video as we're going through it, and you'll get some of those problems done. So the first one we want to do, this is number 5 on your study guide. We want to find the sum of x squared minus 2x plus 5 and negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 9. So I'm just going to quickly rewrite those two. And now what I want to do, since I'm finding the sum, I just want to combine like terms. So I'm just going to rearrange these with the like terms next to each other. So I have them color-coded so you can see which term came from which polynomial. And I'm putting my terms that have an x squared next to each other, just an x to the first power, and then my constants together. So I can add those together. And so now when I add x squared and negative 3x squared and negative 2x plus 2x and 5 plus negative 9, I'm going to end up with negative 2x squared plus 0x minus 4. 0x just means that I don't have any x's, so we can just simplify this further to be negative 2x squared minus 4. So that is that one. Our next one, we want to find the difference of the following polynomials. So this is number 8 on your study guide. So I want to find the difference between x squared minus 4x plus 5 and 2x squared plus x minus 3. So I'm going to rewrite those again. And remember, whenever I have a minus, I really need to distribute in that negative. So in that second line where I've rewritten it, I've already distributed in that negative. So I've changed 2x squared to be negative 2x squared, and I've also changed x to be negative x and negative 3 to be positive 3 because I distributed in a negative. So I'm switching the sign of everything that's on the inside of those parentheses. So I've already done that here. So make sure that when you are going through your study guide, that's what you're doing as well. So now I'm going to rewrite this with the like terms next to each other. And so I have x squared plus negative 2x squared next to each other. And then I'm adding negative 4x and negative x. And then my two constants at the end are 5 and 3. So once I combine like terms, I get negative x squared minus 5x plus 8. And that is my simplified polynomial. Also, at any point, if I'm going too fast, just feel free to stop the video and you can go through at your own pace. All right, so now we want to find the product of the following polynomials. So this is 11 and 13 on your study guide. So first, let's start with 11. If I have a polynomial right next to each other like that, that means that I'm multiplying. So whenever this is the case, I want to use the distributive property to multiply y plus 5 and 2y plus 1. So I'm going to first use the distributive property to rewrite this. So I can rewrite it as y times 2y plus y times 1 plus 5 times 2y plus 5 times 1. So once I've rewritten it like that, then I can simplify that a little bit further. And I will end up with 2y squared plus y plus 10y plus 5. And so now hopefully you're noticing that you can combine two terms there. My y and my 10y can be combined. And so then when I've combined those two terms, you should get 2y squared plus 11y plus 5. All right, so now I'm looking at this next one, 13. So I want to do y plus 4 to the 4th power. And so underneath this, I have written out the binomial expansion. So remember, whenever we have something y plus 4 to the 4th power or to the 5th power or something like that, we can use Pascal's triangle to give us a shortcut way of doing it so that we don't have to write out y plus 4 times y plus 4 plus times y plus 4 times y plus 4. It's going to be tedious to do it that way, so we're going to use the shortcut using Pascal's triangle. And so with this, my a is going to be my y, my b value is going to be my 4. So in my binomial expansion, I pulled this right from the triangle, and that was given to you on the notes. So if you don't have that, either Google it or just look back at your notes and it should be under Pascal's triangle for day 2 of multiplication. So now in every place I have an A, I'm going to substitute in a Y, and then every place I have a B, I'm going to substitute in a 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in my next line. So then once I have that, I'm making sure to, every time I'm substituting in, put that in parentheses, and I end up with 1y to the 4th plus 4 times y to the 3rd power times 4 plus 6 times y to the 2nd power times 4 to the 2nd power plus 4 times y times 4 to the 3rd power plus 4 to the 4th power. So now we can go ahead and start simplifying a couple things. So in this next line, I've only simplified just a couple things that were in parentheses. So 1y to the 4th can just be simplified as y to the 4th. And then 4 times y to the 3rd times 4 can just be 4y to the 3rd times 4. And so on and so forth. So I've just simplified only a couple things. Mostly just my y's, and then anytime I have a constant to a power, I have simplified that as well. For example, 4 to the 2nd, I simplified to be 16, 4 to the 3rd is 64, and then 4 to the 4th is 256. Okay, so now I can simplify this even further, because if you look at this second term, you have 4y to the 3rd times 4. And so I can simplify that a little bit further because I can multiply my 4's together. So once I've simplified a little bit further, I get y to the 4th plus 16y to the 3rd plus 96y to the 2nd plus 256y plus 256. So that, although it was a little bit long, this would still be a lot shorter than having to multiply it out by hand instead of using Pascal's triangle, so it is still a very good shortcut to use. All right, let's move on to division. So now 15 and 17, these are from your study guide, and we want to find the quotient of 7x to the 3rd plus x to the 2nd plus x and x squared plus 1. So one thing that I'm noticing so far is my divisor here has an x squared. So whenever I have something other than just x, like whether that be x squared or x to the 3rd, I have to use long division. I cannot use synthetic division. I can only use synthetic division when it is just x. So this I'm going to have to use long division for. So I want to divide like this. And so my dividend, it's not what we end with, it's what we start with. So we put that, I call it under the house. So the dividend goes under the house and then the divisor goes outside the house. And so now I'm thinking to myself, what is something I can multiply x squared by to get 7x to the 3rd? And hopefully you thought 7x as well. So now I'm going to put 7x up in the top, and I'm going to multiply 7x times my entire divisor. So when I do that, I will get this. So I multiplied this through, and because I don't have an x term in my divisor, I have to still put that term in as like a 0x squared, because when I subtract, I still need to keep my place value. So I'm making sure to keep that place value and just put a 0x squared there, or a 0 is fine too. So now I know that whenever I am subtracting a polynomial, I need to add the opposite. So I'm going to go through and multiply in that -1. So I'm going to change all of the signs to everything that's on the inside of the parentheses. And so now when I do my addition here, I have 7x to the 3rd minus 7x to the 3rd, which gives me 0. And then I have x squared minus 0x squared, so I'm just left with x squared. And then x plus negative x squared is going to give me -6. x. So that is my new polynomial that I'm going to try and multiply my divisor to get to that. So now I'm thinking to myself, what can I multiply x squared by to get x squared? And the answer is just positive 1. So I can multiply 1 times my entire divisor. When I do that, I will get x squared plus 1 again. But remember, whenever we're doing division or anything like this, we always want to make sure we keep place value. So I put in that 0x in there as well, just to make sure that all of the terms are lined up properly. So now I, again, am subtracting that polynomial. And so I want to add the opposite. So I'm changing all of those to the opposite signs. You can think of it that way or distributing in the negative. I know I've said it both ways. They're the same thing. Whenever we subtract, we add the opposite. And whenever we have like a negative on the outside, we have to distribute it in. So you can think about it either way. So now we're going to add those together. And so x squared minus x squared is going to give me 0. Negative 6x plus 0x is going to give me negative 6x. And then I'm just left with that negative 1. So I'll end up with negative 6x minus 1. And so hopefully you remember, if I don't have anything else to bring down from my dividend, this is our remainder. So I can't multiply x squared by anything to get negative 6x. And so this is my remainder. So whenever I have a remainder like this, I'm just going to write it as a fraction over my divisor. So I have there up at the top 7x plus 1 plus negative 6x minus 1 over x squared plus 1. And now let's do the synthetic division for number 17. All right, so I'm on 17 and I noticed that my divisor here is x to the first power. So this tells me that I can use synthetic division. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to draw my little upside down division sign. And up at the top, I'm just going to write the coefficients from the first polynomial. So if you notice, the 3 is there, and then the negative 5 is there, and then I have to make sure that I have every single place value there. So since I don't just have an x to the first power term, I just put in a 0, and then my constant is negative 2. So those are my coefficients inside the house. And then I want my k value on the outside to be in the form x minus k. So since I have x minus 1, it's already in that form, so my k value here is 1. So that's the same. So then next, to start my synthetic division, I just want to bring down that 3. And then now I want to multiply 1 times 3, which will give me 3. And then now I'm adding negative 5 and 3 to get negative 2. And I'm multiplying 1 times negative 2 to get negative 2, adding 0 and negative 2 together to get negative 2. And then 1 times negative 2 gives me negative 2 once again. And then negative 2 plus negative 2 gives me negative 4. So now if you look up at the dividend, we're in a polynomial x to the third power. So our degree of our polynomial is x to the third. We're at the third degree. So since I divided by a first degree polynomial, x to the first power, I want to be at x to the second power for my quotient here. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3x squared minus 2x minus 2, and then that negative 4 is the remainder. So then remember, when I rewrite my remainder, I will have that negative 4 over the divisor, which is x minus 1. All right, please let us know if you have any questions, and good luck with your study guide.